So there's no way for me to see the questions, right?
Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and Anne-Marie McEwen here. It's Sunday, December the 16th, 2018. It's 8 p.m. New York time, 5 p.m. Los Angeles time. It's 1 in the morning in London and in Sydney, Australia. I believe that makes it 12 noon. And we're welcoming you to yet another program of LOA Today. Today we are talking about a variety of things. But first and foremost, we're talking about the fact that we are live streaming not only to the Facebook Law of Attraction Change My Life group, but we're also live streaming to our LOA Today page, which means that you don't have to be a member of the group anymore in order to watch the live stream. Not that we have anything against the group. We have nothing. We love the people in the group, but now we're expanding it a little bit. So if you wanted to participate in the live stream and be a member of the chat, just go to the page LOA Today on Facebook, and you will see our live stream happening there live, and you will be able to share your comments and see what's going on and just participate in everything we're talking about. And Anne-Marie, how you doing? It's been a week or so, but you're looking good. Especially, I love the antlers. The antlers they're just you. They're really you.
And they even jingle.
They jingle.
They jingle.
You are in the Christmas spirit.
Yes, I sure am. Last night I went to see my favorite band perform, and they did all Christmas songs except for one song about the bees.
Uh-huh.
And it was just a jolly good night. It was wonderful. It got us really in the spirit. And then today we went to get a Christmas tree with my 5-year-old granddaughter. So we spent the entire day just decorating and playing around and just having a great time with her. And then my daughter just came back home after work, and we had some takeout for dinner. And so she just left, and I said, I think I'm going to keep these antlers to wear tonight. So
cool.
We
Good
had
thing.
a fun day.
Yeah, that sounds like a great day. It sounds like the kind of day that you'd want to play over and over again in your mind, right? Because that's one of the things we like to talk about, how it's important to take the stuff that is really good and milk it and just play it and milk it and milk it and milk it to get into that good feeling place so that we can have our daily dose of happy whenever we need a dose.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I did take some videos and some pictures of her roughhousing and, fooling around and stuff. And she played a new game. I never heard of this game, but she played it with my husband where he would pick out a spot on the tree and she would have to guess it and then hang the ornament there. And then they would reverse the roles. So they had fun. Hey, they had fun. The tree got decorated. It's all good.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes total sense to me. And in fact, actually, the fact that there is a child involved ties in with the concept I was thinking about this weekend and giving some consideration to. And by the way, I want to make sure, I don't think I've mentioned this so far. This is a Q&A day, so if you're listening to the live stream, please be sure to punch something in, ask a question in the comments section on Facebook, and we'll be glad to answer it because, hey, we love helping other people. It's a lot easier than helping yourself. So, that's like one of the best ways to help yourself is to help someone else, and that's what we're going to be doing here today. But while we're waiting for the questions to start coming in, I just wanted to talk about this epiphany, I guess you could say, that I had over the weekend, which is that, and again, tying into a little kid, kids are really good at imagining things, right? Kids are all into play. Yeah. They're all about creating, made-up worlds and making up careers for themselves. They want to be, I don't know what it is today, probably being, like a video software operator or something, but back in the day it was being a fireman or a nurse or something like that.
Right.
And whatever it is that the kids are dreaming about doing today. And they create it out of whole cloth. They've never been a fireman before. They've never been a nurse before. They've never been a ballerina before. They've never done any of that before. They saw it on television, or they read about it in a book, or they're just making it up based on the little pieces of information that they have. Well, that's imagining. Yeah. That's imagining in its purest form. And the epiphany that I had, that part was not the epiphany. I knew that was always imagining. No, the epiphany was recognizing that when we talk about being deliberate creators, we usually talk about it in terms of like the 3-step process in most cases. And the 3-step process, depending on how you're listening to, is fairly similar from one guru to the next. But it almost always starts off with, what do you want? What's your desire? What are you going to express as your desire or your want? And the thing that always bugged me about that, especially after I learned more of the in-depth stuff about how all this stuff works, is that when you're in a I want this or I desire this, you're in a lack state. You're in the state of, I don't have that thing right now. And it's not the same vibration as being in the state of having it, which is ultimately where you want to get to.
Right.
Whereas imagining doesn't, in my experience anyway, doesn't really have that same baggage with it. You just imagine you're playing. It's not like, well, I'm not really playing. I'm not really there. No, the little kid doesn't worry about the fact that they're not a fireman. They just start being a fireman because that's what imagining is all about. I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine. I think I'm going to imagine that I lack being a fireman. No, it's just not the way we think about things. So I'm now on the Neville bandwagon in terms of using the word imagining instead of using words like wanting or desiring or needing, because it gets rid of the old baggage and helps us, I think, at least it helps me. I'll speak for myself. I think when I think about it in terms of imagining, it just makes it easier for me to get into that feeling place that Neville talks about. You know, that
I totally
assuming
agree.
the feeling.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Imagining is a much better word for me to get there in a positive manner and not feel like I'm just pretending and I have to fake it, kind of thing. I'm not sure why that is, because it's really still the same thing. But imagining somehow just allows me to get there better and easier.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what it's about. I mean, because ultimately, anything that we're trying to manifest into our lives, we have to get into that feeling place about it. We have to get into that place where we're living it right now in our imaginations. So anything that we can do to get the baggage out of the way, to get the resistance out of the way, I think is a good thing. So yeah, let's go with imagine.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to note that if you have a desire for something and you can imagine it or not, but those desires go out from us all the time, whether we're consciously thinking about them or not. Those desires are shooting out of us. And as long as we don't block them, then they will show up in the perfect timing.
Yep.
So, and as long as you've held that desire long enough, right? Because they say if you just hold a thought for 5 seconds, it's not going to manifest. But if you hold that thought, that desire long enough, or you have that really strong emotion about wanting something, that rocket's going to shoot out of you and eventually manifest, as long as you don't block it from coming into your life.
Right, exactly.
And so sometimes we don't really think about something much after the initial thought. We just let it go. We don't think about it. We might have that desire once, or we might have that desire multiple times, but we don't think about it after that. And yet it can still manifest in your life because you haven't blocked it from coming. And so often the things that we really, really want, we block because in the desiring of it and in the thinking that I really, really want it, you're really, really telling the universe you really, really don't have it yet.
Yes, right. Exactly.
So we block it, So it's funny to see the things that show up and say, well, I didn't spend any time thinking about how I wanted that or really, really, really desiring that, But like, hey, you just thought about it once. And it showed up because you weren't blocking it.
That's
so at
true.
least that's what I find.
No, I think you're right. And ultimately, I mean, I was having a conversation with Jamie Ortwell, who is one of the admins of the Law of Attraction Changed My Life group. She had posted something about...
Mike, can you bring me a bottle of water or something?
She had posted something about visualizing, and I think it was something about if you take a pencil or something like that and you just hold the pencil in your hand and just look at it for 3 straight minutes, so that you're just totally absorbed and focusing on this pencil. Even if you're a person who has trouble with visualizing, after the end of 3 minutes, You close your eyes and you can see that pencil in your mind because you created this image in your head. Well, I actually have a condition that a minority of the population have called aphantasia, which prevents
What
me.
is that?
aphantasia, aphantasia.
Aphantasia. I've never heard of that.
It's actually a new word. It's only like 6-7 years old, something like that, and it was created for the purpose of describing somebody who has a great deal of difficulty, or makes it perhaps it's even impossible for them to create images in their minds. And that's me. I have never been able to create images in my minds. In fact, in my mind rather. In fact, when I heard about people who were visualizing and so forth, I always thought it was just metaphorical. I mean, I really didn't think that they actually saw images in their minds because I knew I couldn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never heard of such a thing. Wow.
I don't know. I don't think anybody has ever taken a clear survey of it. I have read that it's anywhere from 10 to 15% of the population have aphantasia. In some cases,
10 to 15% of the entire population?
something like that. Yeah. Now it's an estimate. I don't know how accurate the estimate is, but anyway, the whole thing about and there are actually two different kinds of it. There's one kind where people have absolutely nothing; they can't generate any images at all. And then the second kind, which is what I have, sometimes I can get little faint, very very faint images that last for a split second or maybe even a second or two. But I can't sustain it for any length of time. So, for instance, let's say I'm looking at a picture on a computer screen, a beautiful landscape on a computer screen. I'm loving it and I'm enjoying it. If I close my eyes, it will hold my mind for maybe a half a second, then it's gone. Just can't hold it there.
Wow.
Well,
I never heard of that.
And it's
So I have
pretty
a
serious
question.
stuff.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're supposed to visualize and I can't visualize.
Yeah. Wow. So you can't close your eyes and see yourself doing anything. You can't just imagine in your mind. You don't see pictures.
No. Very
Wow.
rarely. I occasionally get a picture, not very often. Even my dreams aren't very much in the way of pictures. My dreams are very muted, very dark. Dark, I don't mean in terms of emotionally dark. I just mean like dark light, like very little light going on. It's almost like kind of like looking through a night vision scope kind of thing, only not as bright. That's kind of what it's like. And I thought that's what it was for everybody. I mean, it's only a few years ago I actually realized when people said they were visualizing images, they were actually seeing images. It kind of blew my mind. Like, well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I see images? I thought I was just part of the crowd. Nobody could do it. I thought we were talking about it metaphorically. I thought we were talking about it in the abstract. I really didn't think we were talking about it as a real thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Blow me away.
and it's challenging. Now, here's the interesting thing. I'm still able to make things manifest, even though I can't visualize.
Well, because somehow in your head, you're still creating that thing that you want. Even if you can't see it, you've still created it. Your thoughts have created it. Your thought energy has created it.
Because it's the vibration that's doing it. Yeah, so I can generate the vibration. I just can't turn that vibration into something I can see, so to speak.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, because everything is vibrational interpretation, right? Everything we smell, everything we taste, everything we touch, everything is vibrational interpretation.
Exactly.
From what I understand. Mm-hmm. So it's just you don't have that. You're missing that link somehow to the actual interpretation of the visual of that imagined thought.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. And kind of disturbing to me because it makes me feel like I'm missing an important tool. Because, I mean, I know, now I understand, too, why vision boards have never worked for me. Because I can't hold the vision board in my head. I can't look at it and just retain it. The only time I ever get any benefit from it is if I'm actually looking at it.
Right, but you still could get benefit from it every time you look at it. In fact, I think a vision board would be even more important for you to do because you can't imagine it in your head. So having it actually physically, tangibly there on your wall, I would think would be even better for you.
For some reason, it has never been really a strong thing for me. I mean, I can't say I've done a lot of work with vision boards, so maybe I should be a little bit more dedicated, see if it does make a difference. But so far, any of that kind of thing hasn't really done a whole lot for me. Now,
because you've never relied on your visual sense to create.
Well, it's possible. Yeah, I can't rule that one out because I've certainly learned not to rely on it. I've had to. And I was having a conversation, like I said, with Jamie. Jamie was asking, so what does it seem like to me? I mean, what's the experience like? And the experience is like, most of the time you get nothing, you get blank. So it's like, black, or actually more like dark gray. It's not really black. And occasionally you get what I call a flashbulb moment. Like the old-fashioned flash bulbs, the flash bulb as you're taking the picture, right? And for that moment, there'd be that flash of light. Well, it's like that, but it's not a bright light. It's a little dim, dark light that just kind of flashes in and lasts for a split second, then it's gone. And that I do get that periodically. I have even on rare occasions, very rare occasions, had a brilliant image. One time I had one this past summer, and I've mentioned this a few times to people. I don't even understand the image, but the image was literally a blue sky with a whole bunch of yellow-green tennis balls in it, all kind of lined up in rows, I should say. And it was just the sky full of tennis balls. But what was so exciting about it was vivid. It was like I was actually looking at it, and I said, whoa, what was that? That was so cool.
Wow, that's so bizarre.
It is.
That is so bizarre. I mean, like, the picture you get is a sky with tennis balls. That's crazy.
I don't even know what that's about. Now, I have been working. I have to say, I have been trying to do exercises, so to speak, since then. So often when I'm doing my walks, for instance, my nature walks, I'll close my eyes and I'll try to visualize something. I've tried to visualize a variety of things, usually with no progress at all. So I decided, okay, let's make it really, really simple. I want to visualize the blue of a sky. I don't even necessarily need to see a sky. I don't need to see the clouds. I just want to see the blue. See if I can visualize blue. And I have gotten it to the point where, like, a quarter of the time, a third of the time, I can get a little flash of blue in my mind. So I'm making progress because I couldn't do that before. And it makes me think if I really keep with it, maybe I can learn how to visualize. Give me enough years. Or hopefully less than years. But yeah, it's... when I found out that people could do it and I couldn't, I was looking it up. That's how I found the word aphantasia. Because I wanted to understand, is this just me? Is it something that's wrong with me? Do I need surgery? I mean, what's going on here? And that's when I found out that there are a sizable number of people who have this condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Who knew? Wow.
And I've also found out from some of the co-hosts that, like Patty says, she doesn't, and I'm sad to say, I have to tell a note about Patty in a moment. But Patty tells me she doesn't visualize very much. She doesn't have very clear vision in her mind. I got the impression she could do some images more than I can, I think. But she says it's not like her real strength. So that was kind of reassuring. There's somebody else who I know, and she's a law of attraction life coach, so certainly she knows a thing or two about visualizing. And there she is having the same kind of issue that I am. The message that I need to give about Patty is Patty has decided to make a change in her career, which is making it impossible for her to continue to do the Monday afternoon podcast with me. So last Monday was her last podcast. I'm very sad to say, because she's delightful and wonderful, and I just hit it off from her right from the beginning. But we have somebody new coming in. Her name is Shelly. Shelly's going to be joining me tomorrow. And we're going to start doing the Monday shows in the evening hours here on the East Coast of the U.S. So in New York time, it would be at 8 p.m. on Mondays. And on the West Coast, Los Angeles time would be 5 p.m. So kind of similar to what you and I are doing here on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And that's mainly because I want to try to reach out more to American audiences. We're doing really well reaching people around the world, but I want to also get more Americans involved. So I figured, let's go for the sweet spot, so to speak, the prime time, and see if we can get people to come in that way. But yeah, there's a little piece of me that's still sad that Patty's moving on to other things. I mean, she's doing good. She's doing great. Just not going to be able to talk to her every week. Oh well.
I was able to catch your last show. I was glad about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that the fact is that there are many people who experience some degree of this condition, and we can compensate. I mean, like I said, Jamie was kind of working with me. She was trying to find out where the limits were, and what I could do, what I can't do, and so forth, and suggest things. And yeah, she made some interesting suggestions. I tried them out. They didn't really necessarily work out too well, but I was really appreciating the fact that she was trying to help. And then after we'd done some exchanges for a while, we kind of went away from it for a couple hours. And then while I was away from it, I decided I was going to see if I could take yet another approach to visualizing. Now, one of the things I've been trying to visualize is getting like tens of thousands of listeners of the podcast.
Right.
So I started, I said, well, I wonder if I could find some sort of a video on YouTube that would symbolize having tens of thousands of listeners on the podcast. And you know what I found? I found somebody had made a video. I think they'd made it for people who were learning to be public speakers. They have a video of an entire audience, and the audience leaps to their feet and gives a rousing standing ovation to you on camera. So you have this whole audience cheering at you. And I thought, well, that's a cool image for visualizing a whole bunch of listeners, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though I don't have necessarily the ability to create the image in my head, I can certainly look at a video and appreciate it and live vicariously that way, so to speak, and turn that into my assuming the feeling. I could feel that one. That was pretty easy to feel.
Right. Yeah.
So you can compensate.
Yeah, I appreciate the assuming the feeling trick of putting it on my calendar. Right now I only have going off once a day, but I intend to make more. I just haven't done it yet, to have a calendar event go off on my phone to remind me, and it just pops up and says, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And it's helpful.
It is. Yeah, Cindy's been doing it, I know. Cindy Chavez, who does the Tuesday and Wednesday morning podcast with me, has been doing it, and she was talking about just this last week how it's made a pretty big difference for her, that just to kind of have that reminder every few hours, take a moment, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, take advantage of it to get to that better feeling place again. It's a good practice. Right.
Yeah. It helps. It really helps. There's so much going on in our lives. It's like I have to remind myself that I just put the kettle on for tea. If it didn't have a whistle, I'd probably burn the house down.
Well, I hope not. Jeez.
Oh my goodness. And it was just seconds later, and then I got distracted and moved on to something else already. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I put something on the stove.
Oops.
Crazy. My goodness.
We're not actually getting a whole lot of, excuse me, we're not getting a whole lot of people commenting and asking questions and so forth. So I figure we'll just keep going with our conversation because it's a good conversation. But anyone who wants to put a question or in the comment section who's listening live, we'd love to be able to address a question, or just even bring up a comment, something that you're thinking about what we're talking about. Any excuse me, my throat is just full. Any contribution you'd like to make to the conversation, we'd love to have that, and we will include it in our conversation here on the video. Excuse me, man. Yeah. See, that's what happens when you do dinner before you do the podcast. Not always the best policy.
Yes. I know. I just had dinner too, so.
Yeah. Okay. So we're both in the same boat. So we'll keep the choking to the minimum. Yes. Yeah. So assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's the tagline that Cindy has convinced me to make a part of my conscious mindset now. And I gathered from your comments earlier and what we talked about last week, that's become a big thing for you too. I mean, is that something that you're doing every day, or how are you incorporating it?
Honestly, at this point in time, I've got it on my calendar for 11 o'clock in the morning. At 11 o'clock in the morning, that thing goes off. I look at my phone and I spend, maybe 17, 20, 25 seconds thinking about something that I want, and just sort of imagining myself having it, or feeling like I have it, even if it's just a feeling of being happy.
That's good.
Or a feeling of being abundant, or a feeling of being peaceful. and not having to think about a million and one jobs that I have to do, just being peaceful, just for 30 seconds, tops. Sometimes I don't even spend that long, but that's pretty much all I'm doing as far as that specifically goes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I really would like to do more, just haven't gotten there yet.
Well, yeah, we have to make the commitment, don't we? We have to make sure that we're doing it. And yeah, it takes a little doing, but I agree with you. I think it's worth doing. I actually have something on my computer that pops up at 1 p.m. and I'm realizing it's really not the optimum time to do it, because that's the time that I'm least likely to pay attention to the message, because I'm right in the middle of like the meat of my day. So I think I probably have to put some different times in. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a good thing to do, and we'll try to do it more often. I am aware, I can tell you this much, I have become really aware the last few days of the need to spend more time focused on what I really want in life. Because, I'm like anybody else, and I suspect you are too, that we like to talk about this stuff on the podcast, but we're just human beings who make mistakes, and we don't always stick to our commitments to ourselves and so forth, and we just kind of need to make it more of a priority. That's what I've been feeling. I need to make it more of a priority, to focus on what I want, to focus on what I need, because otherwise I have a tendency to kind of slip into this malaise, and it's not a good feeling place. And if I don't do anything about it, I stay there.
Yeah, no, I think that's very common, and I think it's normal, and I think it's common, and I think you're right, it's not very beneficial for you. I think the more time we spend imagining where we want to be and focusing on where we want to go, the better. And so I do try to do that, and I also spend as much time as I can in appreciation, which is really helpful. It's just sort of to get you to that good feeling place. Not specifically wanting anything in particular, but just appreciating what you have, just to get you to that good feeling place.
Yeah.
But I have to be reminded to think about what I want in the future. Otherwise, I'm just too wrapped up in what's happening now. So I have reminders around the house, and at 11 o'clock when that banner goes off on my phone, that helps me also. But so I'm glad to hear that you're spending more time thinking about where you want to be. That's really great. That's great news, and good for you. Yay! Good luck with that.
It's also been easier lately. I mean, because and our listeners know to a certain degree. I have included everybody in on everything that's going on, but Louise has been dealing with a medical issue, and it's been a pretty serious one, and it's been chronic, and it's been a long road to climb out of it. But this is the big but. Over the last week to 10 days, she's making sizable improvements, and the feeling associated with that has really taken a lot of the load off of me. I mean, that puts a load on you when the person you love the most is just suffering. Yeah. I mean, in addition to the fact that you're having to do all the stuff she normally does, so you got twice the workload as usual. But you combine all that together, it just weighs you down. And trying to take on anything about deliberate creation or whatever, forget that. You're just bouncing from one crisis to the next, or mini crisis to the next. Just deal with this. This is hot right now. This is hot next. This is here. I need you right now. Walt, come here. Well, with all that settling down, I mean, just this seems like the strangest milestone in the world, but Louise actually was able to make dinner tonight for the first time in 2 months.
Oh, wow.
That's
great.
It sounds like it's so minimal, but it's huge when you're dealing with somebody who's been just unable to hardly lift her head up.
Yes.
It's been,
Yeah. I can't even imagine that, but good for you sticking it out, and I'm so glad to hear she's feeling better. That's great. Yes.
And she wanted me also to say hello to you also, and we'll do a more direct conversation later on, but yeah.
Sure. So what did you have for dinner?
We had baked chicken and with barbecue sauce on it, and sweet potato and some tomato with mayonnaise, and she also had some cabbage. I'm not much of a cabbage eater, but she had her cabbage, and it was tasty. It was very good. Yeah.
Good.
It's what David Bartkey used to call a vibration-raising dinner.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's what food should do. It should make you. It should help you feel better. It should help you get to that higher vibration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One thing I learned from Abraham is to sort of enjoy what you're eating, no matter what it is. And even if you think something's not good for you, like feel like it's good for you in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like let's say you're eating a McDonald's cheeseburger, which I haven't had a McDonald's cheeseburger.
I haven't that in years.
I know that I really don't want a McDonald's cheeseburger, but let's say I'm with some people and they really want to go to McDonald's and they really go to, just go to McDonald's and you just like, okay, I'll bite the bullet. I believe in everything in moderation, right? So you're eating this McDonald's cheeseburger. You might as well just act like it's the best thing in the world for you and just accept it. And my husband always says, well, we're in the vortex now, so it's okay, So just think it's okay, and it won't have such detrimental effects. But if you're eating it and like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this. Oh, I shouldn't be eating this. Oh, no, this is bad that I'm eating this. Then that's not good.
That's right.
Even if it's a good thing for you, if you're having that attitude of, oh, this is not good for me, then it's not going to be good for you.
That's true. Well, I'm reminded of what Abraham Hicks writes about that in their book, The Astonishing Power of Emotions. The example is a really extreme example, and I have mentioned it before. So you have to kind of take a little bit with a grain of salt at first because it just seems so extreme that it's preposterous. But they use the example of somebody who is dealing with a weight issue who walks into an ice cream parlor. And in the ice cream parlor, they're having that debate with themselves. Should I or shouldn't I? And Abraham says, it really doesn't make any difference how much ice cream you eat or don't eat, as in terms of how much weight you're going to either retain or lose or gain. They said you could walk in, and if you have a high vibrating, positive, happy mindset, and if you were to eat 1,000 gallons of ice cream, you wouldn't put on any extra weight. On the other hand,
really?
That's what they said. Yeah, I can get you the actual quote. On the other hand, they said if you go in with the mindset that there's a guilt associated with it, and I really shouldn't be eating this, and you don't really feel good about it, and you have like a little tiny bit, it'll be like you had 1,000 gallons of ice cream because of the mindset. The mindset is what drives the whole thing. Right. And you hear that, you say, wait a minute, what about calories? What about, butter fat? What about all those things that, contribute to what medical science tells us is, driving weight gain or weight loss or whatever? Abraham says, no, that's not the way it is. And like I say, it's a really extreme example, so it's a little bit hard to kind of get your head around. Is Mike wanting to duck in here?
But it makes a good point. Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just asking if Mike's trying to butt in here. I mean, we'd love to have him talk, so he can come in if he wants.
Let me tell him.
Okay.
Mike, if you want to come in and talk, you can. He's bringing me water in my cup.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you heard a bang. Well, you can join us if you want to join us.
I will in a minute. I'm involved with something. Thank you.
He's involved with something, but he might join us in a little bit, maybe.
Okay, well, I mean, we still have to hear his story sometime about the mirror exercises because he's been doing that for, 2.5, 3 months, something like that? Yeah, so.
Yeah, we went out with some friends last night to see the Grand Slambovians, my favorite band. And we, like I said before, it was such a great, uplifting, Christmassy time, and he told stories, and it was just a great night. And we were with another couple who's been having a health issue, and so afterwards, Mike and I did some Reiki on her, and then Mike was talking about the mirror work to her. And today they talked, and she said that she tried doing the mirror work. So
good for her.
To see how that develops.
Yeah, good for her. It's powerful.
When are you going to take that up again, Walt?
I actually have no excuse. I keep saying that I'm going to do it, and I haven't done it. So I can't even answer the question. The only thing I can tell you is I need to get back to it. It's like anything else. We find all these reasons not to do the things we know we're supposed to do, but really it's just about finding the reason to do it.
I know. So let me ask you now. We were just talking about eating food and thinking in the mindset, oh, this is not good for me, right?
Right.
So doesn't that correlate to, oh, I should be doing mirror work, but I'm not?
Oh, absolutely it does. Of course it does.
I have so many things in my life, the same thing. Like, I know I should be doing that, but I'm not. And think about how detrimental that is for us. So
of course,
how do we change that around?
Well, first of all, I think we have to decide that doing it is instead of not doing it is detrimental, we have to think of it that doing it is good for us, that doing it is actually progressing our own agendas and helping us get to where we want to be. We got to get into that mindset, because if we stay in that mindset of, well, it's not good for me to not be doing it, we're just going to get stuck there. That's just not going to go anywhere.
Right. So definitely not say that, but if you say to yourself, oh, that would be really good for me to do, isn't that kind of subliminally telling yourself that to not do it is bad? So I wonder, what about, try this on. What about if we think about it like there's nothing I have to do,
Mm-hmm.
or nothing I have to be. And that way, everything we do is bonus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, well, that's right in line with what Abraham teaches, because they teach that you can't get it wrong, you'll never get it done.
Right.
Which I like to I like to turn it into more positive by saying you always get it right and life goes on forever, which is basically the same thing, just turned into a more positive framing.
Right, that's true. I have to get something. I'm going to be right back. I have to go get Louise Hay's affirmation for today, because it's exactly about what we're talking about.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll give some promos here, because we need to get them done anyway. If you are not yet a subscriber to the podcast, please do become a subscriber. We've got the links in the description, not only of the live stream, but also most places where we have the recording posted online. It's pretty easy to do. Just click the right link for being an Android user or an Apple user and follow through. And it just walks you right through the process of setting yourself up as a subscriber so that you get all of the episodes streaming to your device every single time that we publish one. And then once you're a subscriber, this is for all of our existing subscribers as well as for new subscribers, please take the time to post on social media that you're watching LOA today, because that's how we get more and more people finding out about your daily dose of happy. And the more people find out, the more happy people we have in the world. And when you think about it, that's how you found out. Somebody posted something somewhere, you saw it, and because you saw it, you learned about your daily dose of happy. Well, pass it along, right? This is the right kind of, most chain mail you don't want to pass along. This is the right kind of chain mail to pass along, because it's not actually a chain letter. So those are our two promo messages for the night. And I see that besides my antlered friend, we have another guy there. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Haven't talked to you in a while on video.
How you doing there, Walt?
Doing well.
Podcast people out there?
Yeah.
Doing well.
All right, before we get to him, I want to read you this affirmation.
Okay.
This is a Louise Hay calendar, and it says, "In this moment, all is well. I am safe. There is nowhere I have to go and nothing I have to do." So I like that one, because it makes me feel like anything I do is bonus.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's basically an excellent way to tell yourself, slow down. You're going too fast. You got to make the morning last, like Paul Simon used to sing, right? You just got to slow it down.
Right.
That's good. So.
Yeah. So we decided today was just going to be a day for decorating and Christmas and relaxing and fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's good. That's the way to do it. That's pretty much what we did today too. Just stay inside and enjoy the fact that we don't have to be out. Well, actually, we did go out. We went to do a little Christmas shopping, but other than that, Christmas shopping is allowed, right?
Yeah, that's right. Shopping's always allowed.
I'm saying to the woman who's wearing the antlers on her head.
Right. I'll tell you, when you have grandkids who are little, it's like you just go through childhood all over again. So,
children are wonderful for a number of different reasons, I think. Partly because they are so young and therefore so close to what it was like in the non-physical before they were born, They still have
Mm-hmm.
some retention and memory of that. So they're actually closer connected to source than we are in a sense.
Oh
And
yeah.
and as a result, we can just by observing them and talking with them, we can pick up all kinds of things if we have the eyes and ears to see and hear.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So.
Yep. And the stuff they come out with, boy,
Oh yeah.
it's so funny.
So true.
So
So true.
funny.
Well, let's see. We do have people posting hello, but nothing really coming through as a question or anything. So I'm going to ask a question to you, Mike, because you and I had a phone conversation a few weeks back.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was
Yes.
wondering if you could tell people what's been going on that we talked about that you related to me in that phone conversation.
Ooh, okay. Where to start with all this? Well, you actually with that podcast that I filled in for Anne Marie that Sunday evening, and we started talking about the mirror work, and I decided to dive into it. And so thank you for promoting that.
You're
Because I
welcome.
tried it a long time ago, and I failed at it because it really was bringing up some stuff I wasn't really willing to deal with at the time. So once I made the commitment on the podcast to do it, and I said, "Whoa, I have to do this because I'm sure I'll be asked one day."
And here you are. That
Like
day
I
has
have
come.
to. I better have some answers. So, well, it's been a very interesting journey with that whole process. It has helped me in so many ways. It's allowed me to accept more about who I am and to actually go through things that I used to think that was really challenging and difficult for me. It's nothing compared to looking at your eyes in the mirror and telling yourself that you love yourself.
Mm.
And once you get over that hurdle and you can process things, I just process things differently now. It's not such a big deal
Like what?
because challenges that come up, the old habits creeping back in.
Oh, okay.
And I'm actually able to, this may sound a little crazy, but actually talk to the old habits and say, listen, you're no longer needed here now. I've replaced you with a new habit. And so that voice that you talked about earlier, it just kind of quiets and stops talking. I've replaced it with a voice of encouragement.
Good
over
for
time.
you.
It turns things around. It's a slow process. I do it every day. I've been doing it every day. Now this is week 10, I believe.
Wow.
And I will often flip down my visor and flip up the little mirror on my back of my visor and look in my eyes
I love it.
when I'm at a stoplight. Now when I'm driving,
Right,
and to
right.
remind myself that, hey, you're still doing this, Mike. Hang in there. It's getting better. You still love yourself, and just keep going. You're doing a great job. And
Excellent.
one day you'll be able to help people with this because
Yeah.
when I first heard about this, it was through, the practice of Louise Hay, and there
Mm-hmm.
was no support group to say, hey, you may run into this while you're doing the whole process, and we recommend trying that. It's, you dive into it and you figure it out as you go.
Pretty much. Yeah, absolutely.
And it has brought up a lot of things that I don't think I would have been able to deal with without the mirror work. It just, I had to reset. But with the practice of the mirror work, I was able to do it in a way that I've never been able to deal with old stuff, deep, from childhood stuff or horrific things that's happened in my life that I just want to bury way back and not think about them.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can really, look it in the eye, if you will.
Yeah. Well, you
Say,
mentioned.
okay, it's all right. It's all right that I've gone through that and I've moved past it and I have new habits now and things are better. Things are better. And
You mentioned
they're
that,
getting better every day.
which is great. You mentioned that there are times when something comes up that you said, I don't remember exactly how you said it, but it was like, thank you, I don't need that anymore. I've got something to replace it, and you moved on.
Right.
I want to give you a little thing that you can use that Cindy Chavez gave to me that is really helpful with something like that. When something crops up that's not your most desired thought process, and you're ready to release it. First of all, the fact that you're willing to address it is actually a very, very good thing. So you can pat yourself on the back for that because that's exactly the thing to do. She recommends saying thank you to it. Thank you for the message you're giving me. Thank you for the fact that you're trying to communicate this because that's what your job has been. And now that you've communicated it, I release you. You are free to leave.
Like
I mean, that you've done your job. You can now move on. So you basically treat yourself in a very kind way by doing that. And you treat your thoughts,
Yeah.
even the thoughts that aren't serving you well anymore, you're treating them in a kind way as well. So, not that there was anything wrong with what you were doing. What you were doing was great. This is just like a little accent on top.
Yeah, no, that's good. No,
No,
that's
that's a great.
that's really helpful. That reminds me of when, and I forget who it was, if it was Abraham or was one of your co-hosts who was saying they love it when something negative shows up because then they know that they have to address that, and they say thank you to that. Say, oh, thank you for showing up. Now I know what to address. Now I know what work I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal. That's a big deal. And it also means that that the resistances are coming through. I mean, you're identifying resistances and you're getting them out of the way. That's progress. That's magnificent progress.
Right.
Yeah. It's just like you were able to inspire me with that little voice. I was able to inspire somebody else with that just, yesterday.
She was saying that. Yeah, that's great.
So she actually tried it, and she said, well, it was very awkward and uncomfortable and weird. I said, yes, and it will be like that. It's kind of still like that for me sometimes.
Is it?
But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of not as bad, but there's times when it's like, geez, this is a little ridiculous. But yeah, blowing kisses at myself in the mirror, we have a problem here.
I understand. Yeah. It's interesting that it's kind of hung with you just because for myself, my own experience was that I pretty much got over it after a few days, but I didn't know whether that was going to be true for everybody. So you just confirmed for me that it is going to be a different experience for everybody. Everybody's going to just experience it the way they need to experience it, really.
I think it all depends on how much baggage or how much you carry about yourself or how much self-destructive you are in your life and how critical you are of yourself. And Anne-Marie can talk about numbers someday about that and explain people that are here on this life path and what we have to work through. And I guess I have learned a lot from that and how much baggage we carry and what we're here to accept about ourselves.
By the way, one of the people listening, Mary said, you're going deep. Well done. So you're getting another pat on the back for that.
Oh, good. Well, that's good, Mary. Thank you.
Because going deep is hard to do. I mean, it's what the mirror work basically helps us to get to more easily, which is the great value of it, the great beauty of it. But even so, you still got to deal with it when it crops up, and you're doing that. That's good stuff. That's pat yourself on the back time.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it addresses what you were saying about what Cindy says about how to address issues that come up in your life. You have to address them positively and thank them and be appreciative for them. And by doing the mirror work, it's like you're starting with that. You're starting with appreciation. You're starting with love. You're starting with that. And it's not easy, but if you're starting from that and that's what you're putting out, then it'll be much easier for you to respond in that manner toward whatever comes up. Mm-hmm. And it's also going to teach you, I think, and let me ask you if this is true or not. I would guess, I'm not going to say assume, but I think I would guess that if a negative thing happens in your life just spontaneously, that you might be more apt to deal with it in a loving and appreciative manner.
Oh, absolutely.
Than had you not been doing the mirror work.
Yeah. Yes. You react to things far differently than without that practice. And you're able to turning around in an instant sometimes. And some of these stuff can come up and you could just let it process and really look at yourself while it's processing. And I can see the difference in everything, how I react to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In my demeanor, my expression of it. It actually has helped me in conversations with people because I can listen to people differently now. I can be more not in my head when they're telling me something that I can relate to that brings back an old memory and just let that be back there and just really focus on what they're talking about.
Right.
So it's helping me become a better listener as well. So there's many, many, many benefits to this practice. I recommend it. It's a really good thing to do.
It's free.
It's free.
It's free.
Yeah,
It's free. I shouldn't say it's easy. It's theoretically easy. It's simple. It's not necessarily easy.
and if you're short of mirrors in your house, just go to a mall. There's plenty of mirrors.
There are mirrors in the mall. There's a mirror. We all carry a mirror around in our pockets. They're called smartphones.
That's right. And a cell phone, right? You can
Yeah,
just put the phone around.
it's just the same thing you do to take a selfie. You just don't take the picture. You just look in the camera, and there you are looking in your
Just look
mirror.
at the camera and look at yourself.
Yeah. So there,
I
that
wonder
takes all
how
excuses away.
therapeutic that could be, is to take a video of yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror and talking to yourself.
Wow.
That might be interesting. Replay that.
Well, the replay part might be the hard part.
Yes.
I mean, because speaking for myself, it's hard enough to talk into a mirror or a camera or whatever and say all these things to myself. It's even harder still to go back and replay it, and now I'm reinforcing it again. I'm like, oh, geez, here's the embarrassment factor again.
I'm not, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, but we'll consider it.
We'll call that advanced mirror work 1A, right? Yeah.
There you go. When you think you're done with your mirror work, try this. See what happens next.
I'm still waiting for Walt's support group for mirror work to, kick off.
Yeah.
Well, we did start Pivot Pal.
The mirror.
That's not a bad idea.
Mirror with me.
Well, hey,
mirror with me. How's that? You like that? Mirror with me.
Yeah, it really would probably help some people to have discussion about that.
All we need is a mirror app, right? So that people can have the app that plays right there in the Facebook group.
With words of encouragement that pop up to help you through some of this stuff.
Yeah. I think life coaches are awesome. I think we're doing so much. I think, honestly, life coaches are so much more therapeutic than, what do we call them, caseworkers.
Yes.
I was thinking the other day, if we got rid of caseworkers and we just helped everybody directly through Abraham and groups like these and practices like these and life coaches, we'd be better off and we'd save the state a whole lot of money and we could, people would get better. I think people would get better faster.
I do think that people get better faster. I would also have to agree with, and this is something you might want to ask Louise about because she has a strong opinion on it. I think it's also a time for therapy. Therapy definitely has its role. I don't think it needs to be used as often as it gets used, but there are times when you run into one of those resistances, and I mean, fortunately, so far the ones you've run into, you've been able to move past pretty quickly and easily. But it's quite possible to run into something, particularly if it's traumatic. Maybe you were, abused as a kid or something, or you were dealing with a sexually abusive father or something, and something like that can just sear into your subconscious mind. So you can do affirmations all you want to, but until you actually address that and really root it out with a professional, it can just haunt you for years. It can haunt you for a lifetime. Yeah. That's when a therapist is really valuable.
I do think there's room for that, absolutely, and there's a need for that. Yeah, I do. But anyway.
But I agree with you that much of, and I think Joel Elston, for instance, is a great example of this because he is both a qualified psychotherapist and a qualified life coach. And he's now also a PhD in I forget what the exact topic is, spirituality or something like that. I can't remember exactly what. But,
that's right. He got his PhD.
So he's now Dr. Joel.
Great.
But Joel had to make the choice because he recognized pretty early on that you can be a life coach or you can be a therapist, but you can't be both. They actually kind of, they interfere with each other. So he consciously made the decision to be a life coach because he found he was able to help more people that way. And I think that kind of reinforces what you were saying, that there is a great deal more that a life coach can do than a therapist can do. I mean, we've all heard the stories about people who just were in therapy for years and they were just kind of treading water. They weren't getting anywhere. And that's because the therapeutic approach, as valuable as it is not necessarily the approach for moving forward in the future. It's for uprooting what's in the past and getting it out of your way. But it doesn't actually provide a roadmap going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm glad that it's worked out so well. So now I got to ask you, Anne-Marie, when do you start your mirror work?
Well, I've done it I've done it sometimes. I look in the mirror and I say that, and I have no problem with it. I look at myself and I say I love myself and I appreciate myself, and I'm like, yeah, you're good to go, girl. Go. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know. So maybe I'm not being honest with myself. I don't know. But
You're like the fun's looking into the mirror, right? He looks in the mirror and he goes, "Hey, it's perfect."
or maybe I just don't really want to deal with the real deep issues, So I got enough going on. I don't even have time to deal with that.
Hey, you're doing good things.
There's so much time, and there's mirrors everywhere. So
you're doing a good thing because you got the messages going on your smartphone, Anne-Marie. So that's your saving grace. You're actually doing something. It doesn't necessarily have to be mirror work. There are a lot of ways that we can do stuff. Just mirror work is a very effective way to do it. But this whole idea of putting messages on the phone and reminding yourself, take a moment and assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's powerful. That's really powerful stuff. So
it's really helpful. I think it all depends on what you need. I think that there's a lot of people who need to let go of a lot of things that are keeping them from moving forward. And I think everybody's in different stages. So that's why I think Abraham offers a ton of different techniques and methods for getting yourself out of a funk or for moving forward, because we're all in different places. So we all need different things at different times.
Absolutely
true.
So
the mirror work's just not resonating with me right now. It's just, I look at it and I go, yeah, you're good. Yeah, that's, so I need other kinds of work. I need other tricks and things to keep me focused on being positive and just focusing. I'm not a very good focuser, so.
Well,
but I have a new thing that I think I'm going to start with meditating. That we were reminded of last night. When I meditate now, I think I'm going to be like a bee and go.
Okay.
You're going to have to change your attire though if you do that.
It was a song about the bees. Josiah from the Grand Slambovians, or the Slambovian Circus of Dreams, was channeling John Lennon one day, sitting out in his yard. One summer day, he had let his grass grow, and it was like 3 feet high, and all the clover had sprung up, and all the bees were around him. He was writing a new song about the bees, and the bees were telling him and John Lennon how it's a real mystical secret. Mm-hmm. But if you do that, it will help you get to a really high vibrational state. If you go, it's not easy to do for very long. So this is
the next incarnation of Zen Buddhism. This is Buzz Buddhism.
There you go. There you go.
So what's the buzz? Oh, this is great.
Yeah, so I got to work on that and work on my meditating so I can focus better.
Well, that's all right. We all have to work on stuff. That's okay. That's a good thing. The other thing we have to work on is trying to squeeze more into an hour because we run out of time so fast. But this has been great. And Mike, I really appreciate you coming on to tell us what's been going on with the mirror work. I mean, you broke my record, guy. You're up to what, 70 odd days? I think I stopped around 45 or 50, so you're way ahead of me. Well done.
Yeah, I know. I have to keep it going because it's.
Well, now you're inspiring me. Now you're saying, okay, I got to do it too. So, all right. The gauntlet hasn't thrown down. It's not my turn to pick it up. So, okay, I can do this. Hey, listen, it's been a pleasure, guys. I'm glad you guys did this, and thanks to our listeners for tuning in. And hope you guys have a great week coming up.
Yes, you too. Thanks, Walt. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Share it with your friends. Share us on Facebook.
Absolutely.
And thanks again for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you for this platform.
Hey, my pleasure, and we'll see you all next time here on Today. Goodbye, everybody.